Disclaimer. No LP of any player has been harmed during the process of recording this video. Hello fellow totally mentally stable Kalista players, or whoever you are. I don't care. Anyways, if you watched any of my videos, you probably know that some of my takes on builds can be a little bit unhinged. But I'm not the only one, and if you visited Reddit at least once, you know that perfectly well. So today I'll be going over some interesting takes on Kalista builds that people created. And since it's a video about Kalista builds, I figured it would be best if we started off with an amazing build, crafted with special care, by someone who knows Kalista the most. Because as we all know, people who have no idea what your champion even does, know what to build on it the most. And yes, I mean average Rengar player who has no idea what your champ, or even your items do, and will tell you what to buy despite it not making any fucking sense. Not people who actually theory craft just for fun. Anyways, this build looks really interesting from the start. You've got the annoying poke from static, hurricane for when enemy jungle comes to camp your lane just because you play ranged top lane, and then you have hullbreaker to take enemy tower after you 1v2 them because you are better. And let's not forget Black Cleaver that actually allows you to deal damage to the favorite children of Riot Games, tanks. And on top of that you eat enemy boogers thanks to your rune. What is there not to like? It's basically a build perfect to make the enemy go mental boom. You rush static so that the enemy can basically never freeze or dive, and it also helps you constantly poke them until you can all in and kill them. Nothing is more annoying than poke you cannot avoid, and they will totally not heal up from it thanks to Doran's shield and second wind, because that would mean those two are rather strong, and Riot would have to nerf the tank items, and we clearly don't want that. The next item most likely would be Hullbreaker, since you always have the push, and can most likely take all the plates. Just kidding, we all know what this type of pick means. You almost never have prio because funny bruiser champs, and you basically make every enemy jungler Brio W on you, just because range top, and playing your favorite champion on another lane is clearly forbidden, so they very much have issues with that. But if you can actually play around that, you can later scale into a decent split pusher, with good team fights, making any choice you make reasonable. But why make choices anyways if you can just let your team die while you take the entire enemy base? And if they all come for you because they've realized you can do some funny things, then you have Hurricane to do some more funny things to them instead. And with Hydra and Black Cleaver you have decent sustain and high damage, so you might end up actually winning. And for the Zephyr, yeah, I don't know why it's even there. This item hasn't been relevant since, well, ever. Honestly, I would give this build 4 spears out of 5. The amount of brain damage you can give the enemy is really high, and they will be busy typing for the better part of the game. I would rate it higher, but unfortunately Zephyr exists. Fuck this item. But since it's looking fun, and I respect it, I'll throw in an extra 1.5 airy. Just because I can. Now that we know what this build is about, let's see what others have to say about it. You are regarded. Now that's quite an interesting opinion. This comment clearly comes from the depths of the philosophical mind of a League player, and I'm honored just to read it. And since Kalista subreddit is more dead than the champion itself, there aren't any more interesting comments, so I'll move on to the next build. This one is the build you've probably seen, granted you've heard of this champion's existence, or weird Korean metas. Now this monstrosity is quite something, especially since I've played something similar ages ago. Okay, maybe it wasn't that similar, but I'll still take the credit because it's my video and nobody is there to stop me, and if you try, I'll just Kalista passive you and you can't do anything anyways. Now talking about this build is gonna be a bit easier, because someone went out of their way to do a little presentation on why it's good and how it works. On why, it's pretty simple. Items that make you question sanity of Riot employees in regards to balance of certain class. And on top of that Kalista needs HP and tenacity, and also there are some decent interactions and synergies. One of them being that with passive, you get close enough to use Stride Breaker. Because of course as an ADC you want to go into enemy face. And the second one, Kalista has a lot of base HP so Heartsteel good. And to add more to that, even more funny bruiser items. What else would you need? And let's not forget the shield, that I've been mentioning for ages, maybe in different form but still, I will never get over Riot removing Gargoyle. Please Riot bring back Gargoyle, I need Gargoyle back. I'm just gonna give this build a rating of 7 gargoyles, and leave me alone. And for the comment section, I only got 1. To me it sounds like a skill issue, just get better and start cooking. And if you wanna learn more how to cook, you can join my server. Also if you like me don't forget to subscribe, thanks. Okay, I have no idea what was that. Anyways, since we've had some builds that only psychos could come up with, let's change it up a bit. Classic crit build. Kinda. Now when it comes to this build, I've actually played it a bit before even seeing the post itself. Except I was greedy fucker and skipped Bork, only to rush Phantom Dancer or even Infinity Edge. Honestly, there isn't much to talk about. You go crit, some attack speed, you do the funny damage, and then finish enemies off with E. It couldn't get any simpler. The one advantage of this build is that you can go for most trades and still win, though I guess it depends if you skip the Bork like I do and rush Infinity Edge and go Q max for funny damage instead. Another good thing about this build is that it's very straightforward. With other builds, you might actually consider which items to buy first, and it can impact the game a lot. Meanwhile with this one, you can go the same items over and over, and you'll be just fine. And when it comes to the runes, OP doesn't mention any, so I'm gonna throw in my version that seems reasonable. Now I'm giving two options because 1. I've become addicted to lethal tempo ever since they added it, and 2. Because I wouldn't be myself if I didn't try to min-max something in a single video. Now long story short, lethal tempo is if enemy has some frontline and tanky champs, and Hail of Blades is for when they don't. Or when you might be struggling with skill issues on the lane. That's all. I'm only gonna give this build 2 spears, because it felt like it was half-assed. And since the playstyle is as basic as it could get, let's see what others have to say about it. First one asks why Phantom Dancer over Hurricane. Well, you can actually buy it, but the thing is, it's not always useful. Do you really think it's a good idea to buy it against a team comp like this? Like you're trying to tell me you would actually go into all their faces and survive? Yeah, no. For Hurricane, you actually do need enemy team to be short range. Okay, next question. I like the collector into Infinity Edge with Hail of Baldies. Yes. Me too. That's a very respectable build. And for the last one, the DPS is pathetic compared to other ADC. Well, you know who else is pathetic? I will not finish that joke just for your sake, but you better respect my homies. Now for the last build. This one is kinda special, and you will not believe once you see it. Truly a miracle of this world. Well fuck, I did not expect that one. But it's okay. I'm always prepared with some unhinged build of my own, so gonna go over that instead. Because once I had a vision that induced chaos and panic into my teammates' brains. And that's always funny. Now I know it looks even worse than my Draven support build, but trust me, it's goofy as fuck and it's fun to play. If you are unstable like me, that is. And I know the first thing that probably caught your attention was tier 1 boots. Oh, and the Black Cleaver probably too, but that's because you cannot distinguish damage scaling versus damage type, and KALISTA E, while scaling with AP, it still deals physical damage. And why not Terminus? Well, because I don't like too much attack speed, and Black Cleaver gives you better survivability, so I wouldn't bother. Anyways, the playstyle is very simple. And by that I mean you play just like normal KALISTA, except you confuse everyone around you so much that they start inting and flame you for that because it was completely and totally your fault. Pretty cool skill if you ask me. No, but really, you just go into the enemies, try to survive for as long as you can, and then you magically nuke enemies, your team is surprised, and then everybody clapped. And let's not forget about funny slow for me. That lets you kite a lot easier. And since I would most definitely be biased rating this build, I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. Let me know in the comments how much you hate me for spreading this monstrosity. And also tell me about your unhinged builds, or the ones you encountered, and I might just make a video on it. Anyways, remember to join Discord and subscribe. Thanks, bye.